think about what life's probably like for North Korean citizens. As a country widely renowned for having oppressive conditions, the quality of life for the majority of its population is quite poor. This is especially true for working class citizens. The idea of breadwinners working to provide for themselves or their family is common across the globe. Consider your own experiences with holding a job. What's expected from you? Shifts, and most importantly, past or present wages or salaries. And I try to imagine a job being forced on you by the government, with the understanding that you're legally obligated to accept. If that wasn't too unreasonable, the researcher, Indonesian lawyer Markuzi Darsman said that 50,000 North Korean laborers are currently stationed in countries across Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and Africa, with a high percentage in Russia and China, where they would sometimes work 20-hour days while provided with inadequate food, minimal time off, and a monthly paycheck of only $120 to $150, according to Jenkins, a Time writer. Unfortunately, in North Korea, these are the conditions many of the citizens are faced with, and it has become the norm. Given that this is all we know so far, it's my conservative opinion that this is only the tip of the iceberg, since it's also established that the country of North Korea devotes resources to maintaining secrecy. Labor conditions aside, let's divert our attention to other important factors before continuing. While speaking to my professor, Reed Markham, we discussed how the masses of North Korea are influenced. It was to my surprise to learn that the justification fed to the masses lies behind the idea that the lineage of the Uns are effectively a form of divine intervention. This entails that the passing of any rules are understood to be absolute for the citizens of North Korea. Ring any bells? Moreover, it's under this authoritarian regime led by Kim Jong-un that a series of unprecedented laws have been passed over the North Korean populace. Hold up, what exactly does it mean to establish an authoritarian leadership? Well, thanks to Google, it's best described as a leader that rules based on their own ideas, and if they have a small group of advisors and many followers, they're rarely ever listened to. Let's retract. It's thanks to the article written by Kurti under the publisher Times Now News that we have a better understanding of some of the laws passed by the governing body in North Korea. For example, it was stated that any portrait of Kim Jong-un and Kim Sung II, the grandfather of the current supreme leader, should be held in the highest regard. So much so, in the case of a building catching fire, the portraits must be prioritized and safely escorted outside of such building before anyone is legally allowed to prioritize their own safety. Without any known opposition to this ideology, North Koreans are left with no other choice but to abide. He's a visual of Kim Jong-un. That man right there. An additional law worth mentioning is a specified condition that North Korean laborers are expected to follow the daily routine of working for 8 hours, studying for 8 hours, and making use of the remaining 8 hours to sleep, 8/16/24. This was followed up by the article written by the HRW, formerly known as the Human Rights Watch organization. Official statements received from the Ministry of Unification were relayed and translated in the article written by the HRW. These statements were intended to specifically address the questions pitched by the HRW concerning labor conditions in its entirety. From what I gathered, North Korean laborers employed by the South Korean companies work for 8 hours daily over the course of 6 days a week. Now you may be wondering how South Korea collaborated with the North to rely on essential components of any functional economy, labor, which in turn is used to produce goods and services. To which I can reply with a bit of history leading up to the establishment of the opposite of an embargo. South Korea has taken steps to ease tensions between itself and the North by looking to establish mutually beneficial diplomatic arrangements. These tensions have been caused by the extensive history between the two countries. And I quote, "At one point, the Kim dynasty that has ruled North Korea since 1948 even tried in 1950 to militarily take over the South to make a unified Korea," according to Pandy in her article, "Bizarre Rules that North Koreans must follow to stay alive in Kim Jong-un's regime." It can be attributed to the efforts largely funded by South Korea that trade and interdependence between the two emerging countries has flourished. That's where the KIC comes into the equation, which is formerly known as the Kaesong Industrial Complex, located on the North Korean side of the border. There you go. This complex was stated as being built for different reasons, but as of current, it's become the grounds that South Korean companies are occupying while relying immensely on North Korean laborers predominantly. As for the conditions set for North Koreans while being employed by South Korean companies, it was reported that in the year of 2005, $67.40 was paid after working an average cumulative total of 54.9 hours a week. Recall that North Korean labor laws stipulate that 8 hours must be devoted to work for 6 up to 7 days in a week, which also means an additional 6.9 hours was worked on average, overtime hours. Note, the HRW's article is written under the given conversion of $1 for every 150 North Korean won. For this excerpt, all information was paraphrased and sourced by the article North Korea Workers' Rights at Kaesong Industrial Complex. Reflectively speaking, it's an understatement to describe North Korea as a tirelessly run country powered by the labor produced by the millions of its citizens. Therefore, in attempts to pay respect to all of its citizens left powerless to oppose the authoritarian rule by Kim Jong-un, it's truly a blessing to be a citizen of a prosperous nation that recognizes the value of freedom. Thank you.